Hello. Goodbye.
Manda pro marido dela. Quando foi filtro, ficou mais bonita. Não!
What are we testing?
The Native Americans are coming. They're invisible. Who is behaving to get Christmas presents? Raise your hands if you are in a good list. Only the children? So that's why we need the second part of today. Good job, Leah. Okay. Before we resume and I pass the word to the friends, just want to share that you see all of us are wearing, some of us are wearing the t-shirt. It's the superhero t-shirt. The Fraternity Without Borders t-shirt. For those that are not acquainted with it, it's a fantastic organization. We know the people that founded it, that work on it, and they are helping children who are orphans. Imagine no home, as we say to Virginia every day. There is no home, no bed, no parents, no shower, no clothes, nothing. That's pretty much the scenario in those locations, in Mozambique, Madagascar, and even in certain areas of northeast of Brazil, or the north of Brazil. And they are now, as far as I've heard, they are creating a city, the city of fraternity in Brazil as well. They've been really working hard, and when we buy the t-shirt, the proceeds go to the organization so they can keep on helping people. We know that this is an organization in which the proceeds, the funds, go to the people they need. We're not sustaining lives that are in an office. Okay? We're not, the funds don't go to the employees. It goes to the people. So that's why we dedicated some space for the Fraternity Without Borders in this event today. We who are working at the event are wearing a t-shirt, and to keep in mind that we cannot indulge in this banquet of life without thinking of those who right now are displaced, don't have anything. I don't know what it is, but it must be more than art. So it's valid to help. We help here locally, but we also can help elsewhere because we are in the United States of America. That's basically one of the reasons why we can't do it. We can, and we should. And the other thing is, we want to remind everyone that the friends that came from New York, Long Island, to sing, to play, they are, a big part of the program. And even before we continue, we want to say how we're thankful to you, friends, because it really makes us feel more what our dear and loving speakers are bringing to us, this combination. So in the second part, we would say, let us deepen the awareness and help the superior spirits that count on us so they can reach out now to the homeless of the beyond. Because, figuratively speaking or not, there is more homelessness in the spiritual realm than in the material realm. Spirits who are discarnated, they don't have an address. They don't have their family gathering because they are where their minds have been and have been all along. But it's not on us to judge, but to be available. How can we be available? Everything we feel, if we are mindful, the good spirits can use our vibrations to heal their wounds, to rescue them, to make them feel prepared for a new reincarnation, encouraged to take their next step. Okay? So before our friends John and Kara lead us into the next session, Fred is going to play.
Hi everybody. You all feeling better? Nourished of your bodies as well? Wonderful.
So, in order for, can you hear me? We've done some spiritual work in the microphone during the lunch. It's now better. The piece we're going to play now is called Meditation by the composer Jules Massenet, who was French, and he lived a little bit around the time of Kardec. And actually, Léon Denis, in the book Spiritism in Art, has communications that the spirit of Massenet, the composer, gave about art in the spirit realm. We see that this composer was very spiritual during his physical life, and we see how that continues in the afterlife. And this is probably one of his most well-known melodies that he composed, and it's a moment in an opera that he composed called Thais. Thais was a woman who was very wealthy around the 4th century, and she lived a life of pleasures, a life of all kinds of pleasures, of the flesh and beyond. And she met a priest who started to talk to her about Jesus. And the more he talked to her about Jesus, the more she was trying to distance herself from him and trying to silence him. But this priest was very, very insistent. And as the good news kept hitting her soul, kept hitting her conscience, it started to become more and more impossible to keep ignoring it. Until she has a moment of a mystical experience. She goes deep inside herself in a crucial moment in her life and has this meditation, which she is reviewing her life. She's feeling the energies of the higher spheres, and she's feeling the call to give up the old and embrace the new. And I think we can all identify with this piece because it's the struggle we all face. We know what's new, we know what we need to embrace, and we still still have the old habits inside of us. So this music by Thais captures that. In fact, if there's a moment that's very turbulent, this moment is that struggle between the old and the new. So all of that is expressed in the music, and as we play, we invite you, if you want to close your eyes and visualize this beautiful energy in the room and be an available instrument, as Vanessa said, that would be great. And also please send the good energies for me because it's very hard.
Welcome back to the physical realm and a lovely musical spiritual journey. In the second part of our therapeutic journey, we will hear about Emmanuel's ideas concerning the power of suggestion, the process of obsession, and the healing power of the reincarnating immortal soul.
The speakers that will help us unfold such understanding, followed by the musical group of New York, are Fred Gouveia, Cynthia Kardec, President of the Germantown Spiritist Society, and Dr. Sonia Doi, President of the Allan Kardec Spiritist Society of Maryland. Let us begin this session by enjoying this journey for the immortal soul.
Children, now, with another little session.
See, our MCs will be with the children.
Can you hear me? I shouldn't really touch this, should I? I'll just lower myself. I need to work on my humility, so I'm gonna lower myself. Right, Joseph? Okay.
Do you have a PowerPoint?
I don't have a PowerPoint because the title of my chapter that Vanessa asked me to do is called Suggestion, which means that you need to create the PowerPoint in your imagination. We're not going to have the PowerPoint suggest anything to you. We're going to let your imagination suggest it. So when we think about suggestion, Emmanuel talks that this is a mental reflex that's constantly at play, as opposed to this idea of suggestion that probably was around in the 1950s of some phenomena in the doctor's office, like hypnosis. Oh, this patient is suggested meditation, and so he's suggestionable. He says it goes much more beyond that. And I think, as I was preparing this, I was thinking a lot about our life in social media. Who here is on social media? Raise your hands. Almost every single person in this room raised their hands. This means that we are interacting not only on a physical level, but we're interacting on a cyber internet level that is non-local. And we question how often does the suggestions of the people that are in our news feed, in our social media sphere, how much their suggestions of what they're posting are affecting us, and how much are we affecting them by what we post, right? Vanessa mentioned earlier today about consuming junk food, right? This is the same type of a phenomenon when we engage in any kind of virtual or online fighting or battling. If we notice comments on many articles on the news, we'll see that the first few comments have to do with the information that the article was talking about. But soon it unravels into personal bickering and insults between people. And it loses, after you scroll for a while, you begin to see that it's just fighting. It has nothing to do with the article above. So this is a phenomenon that he describes here as the conditioned reflexes that we have. We still have that instinct of reacting, the instinct of fighting back, defense mechanism. So we act that out online as well, right? With the difference that when we do it online, it's perpetually there, and it's accessible anytime in the future for anybody. So we imagine the degree of responsibility that we as students of Spiritism feel by what we are putting out there. He says something here in this chapter that's very beautiful. He says, each attitude we take in life polarizes forces in people who have a rapport with us. Each attitude we take in life polarizes forces in people who have a rapport with us. This reminds me of that passage by the Petit Prince, the Little Prince, when he says, you are responsible for those who you captivate. You are responsible for all those who you captivate. How many people are following us online, but not just following us, polarizing forces in them because they have a rapport with us? How many secret admirers do we have? Hopefully for the right reasons. Sometimes we have secret admirers not for the right reasons. But each attitude that we do polarizes forces in people who have a rapport with us. They feel compelled to imitate us. They feel compelled to imitate us, whether consciously or unconsciously. That's very powerful. And it's all because of this mechanism of suggestion. So if I decide to start posting controversial things and start to bicker online, or start to, as Josandro says, to sensualize or sensationalize my posts with, for example, pictures of myself in the gym. Have you seen those? Taking photos of their workout. And he describes that phenomenon of sensationalizing or sensualizing it. And I never thought of it like that. But we're putting information out there that's triggering these very deep reflexes in people. And if they have any kind of admiration, or if they look up to us, or if they feel any kind of rapport, to use Emmanuel's word, they will feel compelled, either consciously or unconsciously, to imitate us. And they say leadership, the tone of leadership is set from the top down, right? We feel that. We see that in companies that have very enlightened CEOs, that the entire culture of the company reflects that CEO's more spiritual, more holistic, more wholesome conduct. Excuse me. We also see that in more dysfunctional environments when the leader's conduct and behavior does not reflect that. And it trickles down and reflects on everyone below it, the entire organization. So, because each one of us, 99% of us, raised our hand, saying that we have a presence in social media, let us think of this lesson by Emmanuel. And I'm not going to read the whole lesson, but it's one page, so we can definitely read on your own time. Let's think about, next time I'm going to post something, what will I awaken in people? What will my words or my photo awaken in people? And the same speaker I'm going to mention, Josandro, has in one of his lectures, he quoted a research that's very big research that says that if people spend 14 minutes alone on their news feed of their social media, that's enough to begin to make them feel depressed. The cessation of certain endorphins, and I'm not a doctor, Sonia, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but certain dopamine, endorphins, and other substances, they are ceased to be produced, so it makes us feel depressed. Because the majority of what we post does not necessarily reflect the reality, right? How often do we see people posting things, but when we know them very well, we see that that's just appearances, right? But we have this need because this is one way that technology has enabled us to interact. We can take this and use it for the good, the way Kardec radio uses for the good, the way Vanessa does every 11 o'clock at night. People from all over the world can attune to that, and they can be compelled to imitate, to use Emmanuel's words, and start their own spheres of influence, create their own positive, healthy, healing ripple effects, right? That's the beauty of the technology that we have in our hands today. We don't have to be anywhere or be anybody. We can have a Wi-Fi signal, and that's enough to change the world. It's definitely enough to compel people, to inspire people, to reflect and go deep in themselves and make some changes in the world. So, what a tremendous and awesome responsibility and opportunity that we have, right? I see this passage in myself. They feel compelled to imitate, whether consciously or unconscious. There are some people that I admire a lot. And sometimes I catch myself in a situation at work, for example, when I'm undecided or I am insecure, and I say, what would he do, that person that I admire? Well, that person is very assertive. He's very yes, yes, no, no. Okay, I think he would do that. So then I go and I act based on my idea, which was suggested to me by observing the behavior of somebody I admire. Because I admire that person, I have surrendered a certain amount of energy to that person, so to speak. I have allowed myself to be led by what that person says, acts, or does. So that person might act in that situation totally different. But that's not the point, because the way that person acts suggests to me that that person would do this, and so I go and I act out based on my idea of how that person would act in that situation. So we see how powerful this ripple effect is. And he says the reason that this happens is that the principle of repercussion rules our activities in life. The principle of repercussion. What's repercussion? You guys speak?
The effects.
The effects, the reverbs, the bombardment, whatever ripples out, right? Repercussion. The principle of repercussion rules our activities in life. The school is the home of initiation for souls who are beginning the tasks of intellectual polishing. It is simultaneously a center of conditioned reflexes for millions of spirits who reincarnate in order to take up again what they had acquired before in the area of the intellect. So, if I were to say here, to create a suggestive environment, we would create a visualization, for instance, that would make us feel good because of the principle of repercussion. So, let's give it a try. If we were to close our eyes in this moment and imagine that we are in the midst of a beautiful scene in nature, like a beautiful waterfall is trickling in the back. We can smell the soothing nature, the lavender flowers. We can smell the eucalyptus leaves. We can smell the herbs. Can you smell the fragrances? Beautiful fragrances around. We can hear the waterfall in the back. There's a very monotonous sound to it. It's very constant, but it kind of draws out the noise from everything else. And we feel this wind, this breeze, which is at the optimal temperature, mid-70s. And there's a nice ray of the sun shining down. It's not an uncomfortable sun, it's like an afternoon sun. The sky is a beautiful blue. Just hearing that waterfall trickle down. Sometimes a little bit of the water droplets hit our body and we feel the cool water. We take a deep breath. We can smell those fragrances, the lavender, the birds, the beautiful, majestic nature around us. And then we see in this pond in front of the waterfall, we're beginning to dive into it, and half of our body is immersed on the water, very soothing temperature, and the other half is outside in contact with the air, with this pleasant breeze that's very comfortable. And then we begin to notice that around the pond, right on the shore, we see that there are people that we love dearly, our parents, our friends, our loved ones from previous relationships, our neighbors. Everyone we hold dear is sitting around the shore wearing white, beautiful, radiant, glowing white. And they're all there because they're celebrating with us the completion of our jobs, the completion of our work. We're not there just to be lazy. We are there because we've reached a milestone, and we're there to celebrate having achieved wonderful work together in cooperation. And we're all singing. We're all happy because our consciences are at peace. because we've done the work. We've overcome the challenges. We've paid out the debt, we've learned, and now we're celebrating it together. Everyone is here celebrating because each and every one has completed their duties. How does that feel?
Very special.
So we can slowly come back to the Wingate Hotel in Chantilly, Virginia, whenever you're ready. But that was a very evocative feeling that we created because of the principles of repercussion. Each mind here in this room, incarnate and discarnate, was producing thoughts that were based on this visualization. We can imagine the amount of energy that was just created. Very healing, very soothing, very connected with nature. And how much of that can be multiplied in ripple effects by the mentors and the guides, right? So we have such a powerful tool here that we can use in order to awaken in others their virtues. Because we really have amazing virtues. The fact that we wake up every morning and we get out of bed already makes us victorious. Don't they say that showing up is half the battle? We showed up one more day. We're here. So we should pat ourselves in the back for it as well and embrace the journey ahead. So when we do that, we are able to awaken in others what they have inside of them as virtues. And as we close, I just wanted to remind us once more of the amazing opportunity that we have to inspire the world by our social media habits. All we need today to change the world is a Wi-Fi signal. Of course, charitable work, helping the community, all of that is much more impactful because we're there, flesh and bone, doing the work heart to heart. But we can start with our Wi-Fi signal because, as he says here, each attitude we take in life polarizes forces in people who have a rapport with us. How many friends do you have on your Facebook, on your Instagram? Thousands. Wow. What a powerful phenomenon we have in our hands to be able to put droplets of inspiration, of empowerment, of encouragement, of strength, just like that in those people. Through spontaneous suggestions, we are planting the reflexes of our individuality and collecting its reflexes in the individualities of others. We will attune and we will begin to feel and experience the same things that we put out, that we externalize. We will begin to receive the same back. This takes place as naturally as sowing seeds of wheat, carrots, or potatoes in the world. Yeah? So as we conclude the part of suggestion today, I invite you all to reflect on how I can awaken the virtues and the best in others by the use of my social media habits, and what I can do with that powerful instrument to further the spiritualization of everyone in my sphere of influence. As we say, every day we wake up, we have a choice while incarnating. We can spiritualize matter, or we can animalize the spirit. It's up to us. So let's choose to spiritualize matter.
Oh.
Right.
You can share.
Yeah.
Just ready when you're ready to go. I'm going to play the pictures first. Victor. You play?
Sleepers awaken. Huh?
For all of we all need to awaken. Where is the
So we're getting our video ready. And before we play the video, we're going to play a song, a duet, by Johann Sebastian Bach with Victor, which, by the way, I've never introduced my dear friend Victor Sosa. Apologies. Victor is a dear spirit I met in the Spirit Society of North Beach recently, I believe a couple of months ago, and he told me he was a violinist, that he plays the violin. And so I said, we have to play together. And so here we are playing together for the first time.
And it's beautiful. It's like a dream.
Aww. So this piece, we talked a lot about awakening, right? This is by Johann Sebastian Bach, and it's called Sleepers, Awake. But it doesn't sound like that. It sounds very beautiful. But it is a piece about awakening to the spiritual life, and the melody is very soothing. And we have an arrangement for duet, which is going to be a preparation for us to sing the song that you'll see in the video that we're going to sing together.
You're right. Yeah. So you're gonna go before? It's okay. We'll wait.
I think this song. I know this is who we all are.
As loud as it's gonna be real, I think so.
Peraí, você vai ter um speaker.
The things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream.
Vanessa's having you two all sing together, so can you help me? Because I don't know the song too well.
Just like that.
I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside. I am divinity divine. I am the God, the only inside. I am a star, piece of it all. I am.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be here celebrating the 10th year anniversary of the Spiritist Society in Virginia and the 6th year anniversary of Kardec. Congratulations to all involved. I was asked to present from the book Thought and Life, chapter 27, entitled Obsession. I don't have the...
Oh,
You're like control? No,
he's
I'll let
your
you know.
control.
I got
Just
so
point to him and he'll do it.
involved with the
Next
microphone
slide.
that
No
okay.
problem. We'll work out. So we are going to talk about thought, about obsession, and the role that thought plays in obsession. And we hope that by the end of this presentation, we have enough information, to apply this knowledge on our lives, because this is the reason, the purpose of spiritual learning. Next slide. So in the preface of this book, Emmanuel tells us that our thoughts create the life we seek through the reflection of ourselves. And until one day, in the course of the millennium, when we shall identify ourselves with the infinite wisdom and the infinite love, which
which represent the thought and love of God. Thought and life of God. So our lives are the manifestation of our thoughts, and they reflect our evolutionary stage. We cannot be or think what we are not. However, there will be a day that when our thoughts will be in alignment with God's wisdom and love. It is difficult for us to imagine right now, but we can think of Jesus as our best example. Next slide. Thought is matter. A mental matter, but matter nonetheless. And as such, it can be measurable. Thought have color, have density, mass, have weight, have smell. We were thinking, as our friend was giving us that guided imagery visualization, he was suggesting the smells, and we were smelling it, you know? And thoughts propagate as mental waves across space using the universal fluid that permeates everything. Nice. So, mental waves travel carrying our thoughts. These thought waves have different frequencies, and frequencies that will determine the power of reach and the power of propagation or penetration. You know, it will tell us how far they can go, how dispersed they can be. Just like radio waves, we are used to AM, FM, short waves. If we can only listen to those radio bands if we tune in into those frequencies. You know, we have to change the dial to reach different frequency and tune in with it. And just a reminder, here we have a brain, showing waves come in and out the brain. But thought and will are attributes of the spirit, not of the physical body, not of the brain. I like to think like this. Thought and will are the superpowers of the spirit. Next slide, please. So mental power lies on the base of all circumstances, all phenomena in our individual or collective life. The mind is a living spring of creative forces or creative energy, says Emmanuel. So thought is not inconsequential. The psychosphere, the mental field that enveloped us, is generated, is maintained by the thoughts that we create, we generate. The planet's psychosphere is also the result of all the thoughts of all the inhabitants of the planet, from the material or spiritual realm. And within this ocean of thoughts, full of vitality, full of energy, full of motion, thoughts combine, repel, or neutralize other thoughts. What about obsession? Raise your hand if you think, you believe that spirits can influence us. Good, majority. Raise both hands if you think that this influence can happens more often than not. Very good. Now raise your leg. Just kidding. Next slide, please. Kardec asked the spirits about this, and they said, cannot read from here. Their influence upon you is greater than you suppose, for very frequently is they who guide you. Now, this influence can be very subtle, like hidden, can be clearly perceived, can be good or bad, can be fleeting or lasting. On question 528 of the Spirits book, Kardec, they tell Kardec that the spirits can never, ever, everybody, I add that, never act outside the natural laws. So this influence is regulated by God's laws. What laws are they referring to? I call them the triple A. Attraction, affinity, and attunement. Next slide, please. So this influence can be good or bad depending on the intentions of those that exert it and on the consequences of that influence. Superior good spirits exert influence, but their influence is not coercive. They respect our free will. They don't seek to dominate or control us. They seek to guide and inspire us on the good path. Now, suffering or inferior spirits, due to their ignorance or malice intentions, they try to dominate and control. To lead us like the prayer, to lead us into temptation, to cause us harm. Obsession always involves inferior spirits. Next, please. So what is obsession? The persistent action that an inferior or bad spirit exercises over an individual. Next, please. Kardec classified obsession into 3 categories, from simple obsession to fascination to subjugation, according to the degree of coercion and the nature of the effects it produces. For more information, I refer you to the Medium's book. Okay, next. Emmanuel tells us that obsession is an authentic phenomenon of interaction. It does not proceed only from the so-called dead to the so-called living, type 1. Obsession occurs in different combinations. When parents impose their will over their child's choice of profession, for instance. When a spouse is emotionally or mentally abusive to another, we have the second type. In the book Nosso Lar, André Luiz learns that his father is in the lower spiritual realms, and that he's being tormented by 2 spirits, 2 women, with whom he had extramarital affairs during his last incarnation. One spirit being tormented by 2 spirits. The third type. When an incarnate does not allow the deceased beloved one to rest, to adjust to the new life, the spiritual life, to follow their path by insistently calling their names, their presence, breathing in a very negative way, we end up having the 4th type. Next one, please. So in the same manner that sickness is the result of physical imperfections, obsession is always the result of moral imperfections. Moral imperfections weaken our spiritual defenses, and they attract and facilitate the access of inferior spirits. Karmic. It is related with our past lives. In front of you today, you see me, the best version of it, but in the past, previous lives, I may obsess me, be an obsessor. Contaminations, I find this very interesting. I brought many examples. Let's say we go to places, to a nightclub, where people may dress and dance to provoke lust in others. A party where recreational drugs run free. A bar where have too much to drink is the thing, you know? A casino where gaming is the tonic. A boxing ring or play a combat video game that incite violence. What kind of spirits do you think we will find in there? In finding these activities? What kind of spirits would we bring home or attract? What kind of spirits would attach to us? So this is food for thought, meditate upon. Next one, please. And what about mediumship? Mediumship is attunement. The medium is receptive to, aware of the communicant spirit. It allows the channeling, the spirit communication to happen. But the educated medium is in control. Attunement also occurs with obsession, during an obsessive process. But here it's much like a tug of war between between the spirits, a tug of war of negative forces, energies between two spirits. Next one, please. So how it's done? The spirit of Manuel Filomeno de Miranda in this book tells us that subtly, placing close together, mind to mind, the dominant will over the weak will, who accepts the control. So there is no body taking over by a spirit. There is mental coercion. There is mental control. Dominant will, weak will, acceptance. Next one, please. Emmanuel describes in this chapter in more details the obsessive process. So I will read to you the way that he describes. In order for one mind to address another and make itself understood, it creates images. And through repetition, by projecting the image to the mind it wants to control, it reaches its objective. If the receiving mind is in attunement, in sintonia, attunement, with the one seeking to control it, an active circuit is then formed. An image can relay more information in one instant than written or spoken words trying to describe that image. An image can trigger memories, thoughts, feelings, intensifying the experience. For example, if the inferior spirit wants to incite lust, it will project erotic scenes in the mind screen of its target. Next. Emmanuel continues. Later on, words become also part of the process to consolidate the exchange. The more a person surrenders to a certain idea, the more they become converted to it. Then finally the idea will manifest into action. As a result, the condition of being spellbound is established, says Manuel. The obsessor and the obsessed begin to live and react one upon another, each feeding on each other. Obsession is not one-sided. We used to see obsessive process as the tormentor and the victim, isn't it? There is no victim. And Emmanuel summarized by saying, every case of obsession begins as a sketch, vaguely drawn by someone else's thought, that shows on the screen of our minds. It begins as a mere speck, then it becomes a visible line. Later on, it is fully defined, sharply etched picture from which we receive unfortunately demands that imprison us in the ways of darkness. So obsession is always the result of the consent of the person who suffers it. Consent. I said before that free will is a power of the spirit. And it is, but we need to exercise, to use it, to practice, to strengthen its power. Like a muscle, says Joana de Angelis. Next one, please. Can you read for me the
Sure.
question?
Can people avoid the influence of spirits who incite them to evil?
Can?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, we can. Would you repeat with me? Yes,
Yes.
we
Yes,
can.
we
can.
Thank you very much.
You should.
To evade their influence, Emmanuel recommends us to avoid idleness. There is an old saying, idle hands are the devil's workshop. He also suggests that we give a new life to our minds through the study that elevates our thoughts, like what we are doing here. And we can do much more. Jesus, our guide and model, recommended that be vigilant and pray. Reconcile with your adversaries while you are still on the way, while we are still sharing the same incarnation. Be tolerant, indulgent, forgiving, the true meaning of charity. Love your enemies. Don't seek revenge. And much more. And I want to share with you things that have helped me. So, one thing that helped me, and I use all the time, because none of us is immune to evil. And we are perfect spirits. To think that we will not be easy prey, easy target, is very naive. So, replacing bad thoughts and images with good ones. Don't try to control. We don't control. Just replace as many times as needed. It's like forgiving. 70 times 7. Replace. It might be mind, own spirit, things surfacing. It might be someone telling me, I really don't care. I replace the image. I replace the thought with something positive, something good. One of my favorite things is something I call mental screen power washing. First of all, where is the mind screen? Where is the screen of the mind? It is said that it is more or less 20 degrees of your line of sight, line of vision. So 20 degrees, it would be right here, right here, right here. Okay? So what do? I have my virtual, very powerful power wash machine that I set up, and when things, of course I did all that, I don't do, people really think I'm crazy. I do this in my mind, and I power wash my screen. Sometimes I add soap, sometimes I add bleach. You add whatever you need to. It's your machine, it's your screen, you do what you want to do. Knowing myself, knowing oneself is important for many things, but in particular here is to know, to recognize when there is intrusion. Oh, wow, it's crazy thought, oh, this is not me. I can see intrusion, and then I can be vigilant and pray. Or do other things like read a good book, go to a talk, a spiritual talk. Helping others. Helping others is love in action. And Peter said, I can't remember the verse in the chapter in the verse, but said, love covers a multitude of sins. So what you're waiting? We all have, I don't know how to say pendengas, stuff in the past to resolve. Why wait? Love covers a multitude of sins. There's a formula there. Studying spiritism, reading, watching video talks, coming to a gathering like this, going to the Spirit Center. What I notice is that if I stay away, if I, for instance, yes, I have my gospel at home, I go to the Spirit Center, but that is not enough. I need to be reading a good book. I need to watch sometimes video. We can do, go to YouTube and you can watch wonderful talks. You mentioned Hosan. I love to listen to Hosan. And those things nurture me. They change me. So I'm not so easily, because it's easy to fall and stumble. They sustain me. They support me. So those are my things that have helped me. We have a little bit of time. Is that true? I want to tell you, sorry, my glasses. Oh, before I tell the story, can you, one more slide. Okay. So the big message here that I want to share with you is that we should make healthier and wiser spiritual choices. We do that when we take care of what we eat for our physical body, how we exercise, taking care of the physical body. We need to, what we study, how we develop our intellectual skills. We need to be also smart in our spiritual choices. I'm not a storyteller, but I'll try to tell a story that I've heard from Haroldo Dias telling about contaminations, the possibility of contaminations. He told that Chico Xavier liked to have a cup of coffee every day. And he was in the city, a small city, and he entered this bar. So I don't know exactly what the bar offers except besides alcohol, but alcohol itself could already be a think of contamination. He entered the bar. He was at the table having his coffee, and a spiritist lady, a lady from his spiritist group, passed by the sidewalk, looked at him. But Chico, you were inside this bar. You were drinking yoga. You were a spiritist. You were an example. I said, but my dear sister, when a spiritist enters a bar, the bar becomes the spiritist center. So we can. You know, we suffer contaminations, but we can also change the environment. We are not so helpless. We can change the environment where we are. We can enter in different environments and protect ourselves, because the connection is in the mind, is in the thoughts, in the way we think, the way we feel. And that's all I have to share. Thank you very much for listening.
So we're gonna play before we prepare for the last call, which is gonna talk about healing with Dr. Doi. We just wanna make a clarification. Twice we've heard about the name Rosandro. And I doubt if everybody knows who Rosandro is, because we're not in Brazil. Okay, Rosandro Minji is a good friend, a spiritist, a scholar in spiritism in Brazil. And he became, quite well known in Brazil. And as spiritists, we know Brazil is the largest spiritist country, and that's why we are referring to him. Okay? But hopefully one day we're gonna have some of his talks like in English as well. But meanwhile, we're here as well. So, you ready, friends?
Yeah.
We're going.
You got it.
Oh,
Oh. No, you look at us. He's gonna see us do that to sing. I'll look at you because he's gonna be quiet. That's when I'll start singing.
This is a song by Charlie Chaplin. You know him?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to precede the song with a melody by the film composer Ennio Morricone. You guys know him?
Yep.
So this is a moment of his movie The Mission, which is a very spiritual movie. And it's going to tie directly to the world, the song Smile, which I hope you can sing with us. And you'll see the lyrics describe a little bit of processes of obsession and influence. It's working.
afternoon, everyone.
Good
Good afternoon. I'm so happy to be here with all of you, meet friends that we usually only meet when we have events like this. So it's very, very good. So I would like to start by, on behalf of the AKSS of Maryland, congratulating the Spiritist Society of Virginia for the 10th year anniversary and for Kardec Radio for the 6th year anniversary. And for all their accomplishments through the years, and we wish a lot of success for years to come. Still a lot to do. So, if you could please. Vanessa asked me to talk about the chapter 15 of the book Thought and Life from Francisco Cândido Xavier in the Spirit Manual. And this chapter is on health. So we're gonna hear what I tried to put, on the slide, what Emmanuel, the message that Emmanuel passes to us through this chapter. So Emmanuel starts by making a comparison. And usually, like it was said, image is a very good thing for us to kind of understand things. So he makes a comparison saying that the physical health, the physical body, is compared to a house. When you look at the outside, at the conditions that's kept, you can kind of guess how it is inside, right? So if you look at the house and it's not well kept in the outside, something's going wrong there. And the comparison is that the house or a vehicle, it's compared to our physical body. It is reflecting what's going on inside. So we have to pay attention to that. And of course, the inside is our spirit, our soul. So we're going to kind of go through what Emmanuel says in this chapter, and just for didactic reasons, I put it on topics. So that's what we're going to discuss today. And Emmanuel is going to talk about our own faults, how that influences our physical body, the lack of good nutrition, lower level emotions and sentiments, influence of incarnate and discarnate companions. So you're going to see that in several things that he's going to talk about here is, have already been discussed before in previous talks. So how is that thoughts can affect our physical body? Emmanuel says our own thoughts create a distress
Discussed before in previous
in our
talks.
mind, in our
So,
soul.
how is
Because
that thoughts can...
the thoughts in our minds, we're going to see how it's transmitted from what we have done to distress in the body. Another, next one, please. Once we become aware that we committed a fault, that creates self-criticism. We have inside of us like codes that tell us what's good, what's bad, and all of a sudden we may realize, oops, I did something bad. The moment we realize that, we start to self-criticize ourselves, and we start to repent, and we say, ooh, I wish I had not done that. So, if that was not enough to create stress inside, there is another factor. That is the association of the vibrations of the person who we committed the fault against. That here, Emmanuel is saying the victim. So the vibrations of sorrow and accusation from the victim plus everybody that are friends or family of that victim will vibrate against us. So there are two components: our self-criticism plus the vibrations of the others. And we're gonna discuss this a little further down when Emmanuel talks about the influence of other spirits. So again, talking about faults, that intense conflict that's created in our spirit generates various dysfunctions, various types of alterations in our physical body that's manifested by the physical body. And the intensity, the next one, please. Yeah, the severity of the illnesses that are generated are in relation, in proportion to the degree of the conflict created. So the bigger the conflict is created, the worse is the manifestation by our physical body, the disease, whatever it is that creates in the physical body. So now, we're going to discuss more of this. It doesn't finish here when Emmanuel talks about emotions, but Emmanuel reminds us that we also have to care for the physical body. So far we're talking about things that come from inside, from our soul, but he reminds us that we have to care for the physical body. And it's important to realize that we need good nutrition. We need balanced nutrition to protect our body from unhealthy conditions. So I'm sure that at this time, when this book was written, this is 1958, there was probably not much junk food. But if there were, this was, but what is Emmanuel is saying here, be aware of what you eat, not eating in excess, doing something balanced. Be aware that our body needs good nutrition. It's physical. So nutrition speed is going to manifest through the health of each and every cell in our body. Next one. These are Emmanuel's words in this chapter. While in the flesh, our cells will naturally reflect the substances we ingest. So now, can we really be thinking about what are we eating, right? So no wonder our mothers, when we were kids, saying, "Oh, it hurts for our eyes. It's good for your health. Milk for your bones, and all that." That has a fundament, and there's so much research that has done and telling us that yes, there are specific elements that are good for our health, and there are certain foods that are bad. We all know about this. So in the next slide, I was really, this impacted me when I read in this chapter that Emmanuel says, we also ingest countless disease-producing bacteria which lodge in our cells and may produce a wide variety of infectious diseases. So, again, this book's written way behind, but we have a lot of evidence, medical evidence, showing that we have, yes, good bacteria in our intestine that helps with digestion, but we also ingest a lot of what we call pathogenic bacteria that can cause disease. And they do not just cause disease inside of the digestive system. They can pass through, get into the blood circulation, and create disease in other parts of our body, in other organs. So we are constantly being invaded of these pathogenic bacteria But how is that we are not every day becoming sick? Keep a balance, right? And the balance depends on our immune system. We're going to see it soon. So we have to keep a balance so that the good bacteria keep doing their work, not allowing the bacteria to take over. But the other interesting thing is that recently there was a lot of research showing that the bacteria that is in our digestive system affects not only the digestive system or create infection, but also influences our emotions, influences our mood. Isn't that interesting? So this is in the realm of what they call now microbiome, which is studying the DNA structure of this bacteria. So by knowing what type of bacteria is in our system, they can kind of know what type of influences, what type of diseases we are prone to or we are sensitive to. So it's very interesting to see that Emmanuel, way back when, was already, so current with what we are learning here. Of course, enlightening spirits. What could we expect? So the next one, we're going to talk about another topic that Emmanuel points out, is our lower level emotions and sentiments. And we're going to see what he says about it. He tells us the pathological processes does not always originate from things that we see, from visible causes like bacteria, virus, all that. So that one that thinks about physical body just as the physical without the spirit would think, all these external causes. And he says it's not just that. Our unhealthy emotions, whatever they are, bad emotions, when they are deeply sunk in, they can also create disturbances. They can also create diseases, not just mental. So our lower level emotions or negative sentiments, you can go on more, please, can convert into negative vibrations that actually turn against us. We are thinking that our emotions, I'm angry against this person or all that is against somebody else. No, these sentiments, these emotions are turning back to hurt ourselves. So we have to be really aware of that. And here, Emmanuel says this process, negative vibrations that are created, disturb the complex function of the nervous system in the brain stem, the medulla, and their connections with the skin and with all the internal organs. And here in this picture, you see in green there what is called the limbic system. Well, the lower level emotions or emotions and sentiments are created where? By the spirit, not by the brain, by the spirit. But then they are transmitted through the perispirit to the physical brain. And the limbic area is the area of the brain that manifests emotions and sentiments. And from there, it travels through everywhere in the body, through the nervous system. And if you want to know more about how this works, you can ask Dr. Ansel. Because she's a neuroscientist. She knows a lot more than I do. She has the privilege to talk to you about it. So. But we also know, and Emmanuel tells us, that these what we call neurons or cells from the nervous systems perform highly advanced functional targets. tests. And things like, and they work with like electrical circuit. So emotions, sentiments are vibrations. They are waves. And of course, this is interacting with the system, the nervous system that's carried out by this electric circuit. So it's almost like creating a short circuit in the system. And then we have, of course, interaction and all the operations in the function of the system. So this says anger, fear, cruelty, and interference can create morbid zones in the organic structure because these affect the cells itself. This affects the cells and creates a state of dissonance, a state of malfunction in the cells, and neutralize nearly all the defense mechanisms. So now, what is the defense? What plays a defense mechanism in our body? And I just brought this here to illustrate. Okay, our defense is played by the immune system. And here on this side, you see the cells of the immune system that are, and you can go on more, that are fighting against the invaders, bacteria, fungus, virus, parasites, and they fight against them. So the cells try to protect us. But this system works very well when we are in good conditions. Once we become troubled, once we become depressive or stressed, to be more general, this system starts to fail. And once the system fails, what happens? All those invaders will gain the battle. And that's when we become sick. And that's why when we are very stressed, we have cold, we have allergy, we have so many other things. So, again, Emmanuel says, anger, despair, all those bad sentiments, thoughts, renders the weaker organs a fertile ground for the invading, the pathogenic germs, and also to other diseases. We all, each one of us has like a weak point. Somebody, when you get stressed, you have something in your heart. Somebody else has the back starts to hurt, or a headache, or each one of us has like a weak point. So once we are troubled, once we undergo this tremendous stress, alterations in emotional status, we give rise to a ground, a weak point where this bacteria, whatever, can attack. So these examples are not mine, are from Emmanuel, who talks about tuberculosis, ulcers, leprosy, all infectious diseases except cancer. So as you saw in my first slide when I was showing about the immune system, you see cancer. Of course, our immune system is every minute fighting against development of cancer. So we need to really be aware of this. We can, by vibrating low energy, low sentiment, we are giving rise to all this developing our body. Next one. And it's not just physical, something that we can see, but these imbalances of the soul can cause disease, can cause operations in the physical body, but can also reflect in our mental status. So we can go to the next one. So as you see here, Emmanuel says the reflexes of lower feelings, lower emotions, lower level emotions goes to the encephalic cortex, the outer shell of our brain, and can produce all sorts of alterations, hallucinations, delusions, that may go from a hidden phobia to a complete insanity. So there's a gradation of intensity of these mental signs. Next one, please. Including depression. So all symptoms of mental depression affect cells during the process of mitosis and introduce disrupting elements. What is mitosis? Mitosis is division of the cells. Each cell, cells are multiplying at different rates. Some cells multiply very fast, some cells very slowly. But they are all kind of multiplying. That's one of the characteristics of a living cell, except the neurons that are not in the same rate. But most cells have a very high rate of multiplication. So one cell becomes two. Why this? Because many cells die, so they have to replace. So there are cells dying and multiplying, being born every day, every minute, depending on the cell. So what Emmanuel is reminding us here is that our vibrations, low sentiments are creating alterations in our mental status, including depression. And depression itself will hurt our physical body because it will alter the process of mitosis. This process of cells dividing here is really very complex, involves a lot of elements. It's not as simple as we see in the figure, right? So it's a well-controlled process. So anything can kind of disrupt this, and of course we will have consequences from it. So we have to be mindful that it's a full circle. You go from things that we are thinking we are emanates to the outside, it's coming back to us through our mental system and sorting our body. Next one. Now Emmanuel wants to talk about external influences. And you're going to see this relates a lot with what Cynthia said. He says all these mental alterations, these mental disturbances that we may experience because of all these problems that we are experiencing or creating with our low vibrations are reinforced by either incarnate, not either, but both incarnate and discarnate companions, which have affinity with our ill behavior, our attitudes. So, depending on what attitude, which behavior I have more affinity with one group than others, physically, in our realm here. But also, and even more, in the spirit realm. Okay? So, we have affinities, like Cynthia said. We establish connections, and these spirits, incarnate or discarnate, you can go next one, through direct or indirect suggestions, will develop deplorable symptoms of mental alienation and obsession. So that relates specifically to what Cynthia was saying. Suggestions that can be very subtle sometimes, can be very direct. We have to be aware of this. We know that we make contacts by affinity to what we're thinking. So we are not perfect. One day we're all good, we come to the Spirit Center, we pray, we are making good connections. The next day, I go to work and I start getting irritated and my low vibration, my vibrations go to a low level. That's when we have to do what Cynthia showed us, suggested, power wash. Yeah. Take away the bad thoughts. Connect to better, to higher level thoughts. By praying, by meditating for a little bit, by remembering all this we've been talking about, and so that can cut the connection. So, in essence, all lack of inner harmony, lack of harmony in our spirit, mental imbalances and disturbances, renders the soul ill. So, what we vibrate turns ourselves ill inside. Our internal energy is sick, and that reflects in our physical body. So we are spirits. We create the thoughts, and the thoughts emanate through our physical body and will show by different ways, including disease. So we have to be really, really careful with how we think, what we think, and when we are sick, kind of try to think, what could I have done that's now hurting my physical body? And I want to finish with this beautiful thought. Here, that Emmanuel lives for us. So we learned how we can hurt our physical body, but we need to be aware that only good thoughts, good sentiments can contribute to good health. So let's exercise that. Let's exercise every morning by our morning prayer, by every day start to change the way we think about things, being more positive, being more optimistic, bringing joy inside of us. All this will bring us to good health. Thank you.
That's 90%.
So we've been sitting all day long.
Let's get out.
If you want to get up and move around,
Shake it a little bit.
as the song plays, feel free to shake the energy. Because pay attention, this song has very powerful lyrics. It's about healing. But we hear the song and we only pay attention to the main chorus. But if we see the entire song and all the lyrics, they're very powerful. It's all about healing. So let's sing it together. And if you want to get up and you want to clap your hands, you're not being filmed. Don't worry. Just to move around the energy, we can sing together. This one? And then you'll switch when you got it. Too much. Ready, ladies?
Ready. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
All right,
Goose is ready.
Goose is ready.
Woo!
Clap. In my heart, and I know that it is love. Its blaze could be brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. This place, you feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space. Make a little place.
Come on, everybody.
Heal the world. enough for living. Make a better place for you and for me. If you want to know why, there's a love that cannot lie. Love is strong, it only cares for joyful giving. We try, we shall see. In this place we cannot feel your dread. Stop existing and start living. Feels that always love's enough for us growing. Make a better world. Make a better world. Feel the world. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. And the dream we were conceiving will reveal a joyful face. And the world we once believed in will shine again in grace. Then why do we keep strangling life? Will this earth crucify its soul? Though it's plain to see, this world is heavenly. Be God's goal. Fly so high, and our spirits never die. In my heart, I pray for you, Lord, all my brothers. Free a world with no fear. Together we'll cry happy tears. See the nations turn their swords into plowshares. We could really get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space to make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Yeah, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. For you and for me. For you and for me. For you and for me.
The world we
For
live
you
in,
and for me.
save it for our
For you
children.
and for
Heal the
me.
world we're
For you
living,
and for
save
me.
it for our children. Heal the world we're living, save it for our children. Heal the world we're living, save it for our children. Heal the world we're living.
Love, love, love. So we are going to wrap up. The children are coming back. There's one final section here for us. You know, this song that was just sung here represents the last chapter of the book Thought in Life, which is all about love. And as Emmanuel says, love is the foundation of life. And he, interesting enough, in this chapter, he says, we repeat that love is the reflection of God. We began today talking about how Emmanuel began the synthesis of this course in the schools of regeneration in the spiritual realm, preparing us for a successful reincarnation. And he began by talking about our minds as the mirror of life. And he wraps up the instructions by reminding us that deep inside of us there is the divine seed. And the divine seed, the love, that as he says, love is the reflection of God. This is us, the children of God. We are the children of God. Our children will usually, in our center, after we finish our session, they come and they present something that they've done. They've done a lot today. And they're going to present to us. Okay? We're going to see it now. What they are going to present. Okay? Because it's part of this love. Come, friends. Come, friends. We love you. They're going to play, and we are going to use this for our classes. Since we advance time a little bit, we don't want to deter and do the individual classes. We're going to take this moment so we're gonna turn off the lights and feel the loving and kind spirits operating upon us. After all, we're spiritists and we know they are here with us. Okay.
cooperation and light foundation of the United States of America, and let us visualize a caravan of love leaving the United States, reaching out to the entire world, and leading up light and love without any frontiers. Let there be light always, and may we all feel the presence of our Master in our hearts. So be it. So now let us unite our hearts yet again to receive the purified water that has the exact type of medicine that our hearts yearn for. It is in fact just spring water, but the spirit doctors and nurses infuse it with love and fraternity. And who couldn't use a little dose of love and fraternity here and there, right? I'm up for it. So take your own dose of love and fraternity and allow it to renew yourself as you well deserve.
Meanwhile, Carol is going to say how grateful we are for each and everybody.
Yes, so in the name of the Spiritist Society of Virginia and of Kardec Radio, we thank all of you, the loving speakers, the wonderful musical group, and we look forward to seeing you soon again. May you continue to feel the blessings of God always.
And after the water, Adilson is going to take a picture with those who are willing to be in the picture.
The scarlet and the scarlet alike, right?
Yes, and he asked that we be here front later. This beautiful bouquet of flowers was kindly brought in by Adilson and the friends of the Inner Enlightenment Spirit Society yesterday. And would like to offer to everyone who would like to take a rose, please come here after you. Before you go, take a rose, bring it to your hand. Okay? We're gonna share. We're gonna share. Alright? Good?
Yeah, for the same.
I'll do this side.
I'm sorry.